You are live. Guys, gals, welcome to another episode of the Pulling Around Show. And today I'm talking to one of the greatest pool players to ever walk the planet. He's a world champion, pioneer of the game, and the youngest inductee ever into the BCA Hall of Fame. Mr. Mike Sigel, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So before the world knew you as the Mike Sigel, who
Right.
were you as a kid?
I was a loner pretty much in school. I mean, I started playing pool when I was 12, 13. That was my full focus. I went to school and after that, played pool. That was it.
That was it. So what was the moment where you thought, was there ever a moment where you thought life would go a completely different direction?
Well, I mean, what happened was my parents bought a pool table for my older brother. I was like 13 and he was 16. So he started hanging around in the pool room. And when they first got the pool table, it was one of those like 7-foot honeycomb tables. They put it right in the living room before they needed 4 or 5 guys to put it in the basement. And it was in between the couch and the TV. So every day when I went to school, I'd watch TV for a couple minutes. And then one day I got up, picked up a cue stick and started to hit, which was on the table. I started hitting a few balls and I knew that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I mean, it was that instant.
One shot and you were hooked.
That was it. Yeah,
So
I saw I had a gift.
so who had the biggest influence on you before pool became your path?
Well, my father, um, my father was a big influence for me. He was quiet, but he was stern. So, him and my mother actually both, they made sure I went to school. That was a must for me. So as soon as I graduated, I never went to college, but I did get a high school education. That's about as far as I went. But they were my biggest influence in those days. You're going back in the 60s, 70s. It was different than it is today. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So parents in those days that was your world in those days. It was nothing like it is today.
right, right. So do you remember the first time you walked into a real pool room?
Yeah. Yeah. I was 15. I snuck in. You had to be 16 in those days. Pool in them days was still a little shady. I mean, it still has some image like that today, but not like when I grew up. And I snuck in the pool room. I was 15. I guess the owner knew, but they still let me in there because of my skills and ability. I started hanging around the pool room after school. They had a bus that would go right to the main road where the pool room was on from my school. It left at 2:50. And that's just when I got out. The bus guy would wait for me. I'd wave to him to make sure then they dropped me off at the corner. I'd walk to the pool room, stay there as long as I could. And on the weekends, they opened at 12 and closed at 12, and I was in there. So that was pretty much my life from that time on.
So where was this at?
This was Rochester, New York. And in
Rochester.
my pool room, you had Larry Hubbard, who passed away, the APA owner, half owner with Terry Bell. I actually owned a small piece of APA in 1978, but I chose my career over that. And then you had also Irving Crane, one of the greatest straight pool players of all time, also was from my hometown. And another guy before that, Jerome Keel, was another top pool player, which was not in Rochester, but right down the road in the next small adjoining town. So you had 3 guys like that and myself all come from Rochester, New York, small town.
Breeding champions, huh?
Yeah.
So you go to that kid that you just described to becoming one of the most dominant champions in the history of the sport. So you become the youngest player ever inducted to the Hall of Fame. What
Yeah,
did that
that was a
honor
great
mean?
honor. Huh?
Yeah, I was going to say, that was my question. What did that mean to you at that stage of your life?
Well, they made a special exemption for me because my record was so good. I think at that time you had to be 50 to get into the Hall of Fame, I believe. Now they lowered it to 40, but they put me in at 35, which was, my accomplishments. I won, so many tournaments that almost some of the tournaments I can't even remember. I was at Pat Fleming's and a guy came up to me. He said, "Remember you won the tournament? These are big tournaments now." And I just forgot it. I mean, I used to have a resume, but over the years as I moved, I remember counting them down from 58. I used to stay with this guy, Dave Bowman. And every time I'd win a tournament, I go 59, 60, 60. So that went on for a while. And then when I played in Hopkins tournament on ESPN, that was my 100th win for a professional tournament. Then I actually won the very next tournament playing Tony Ellen in the finals. At that time was almost unbeatable. In fact, that match on ESPN, he beats me, I believe, 11-10. I made a stupid mistake. I had ball in hand. I couldn't believe I couldn't get out. But anyway, I beat him in the finals the very next event. So I won those two in a row, 100, 101. Then I went on to win three or four more, like the Senior Open, played in some other tournaments after I'd retired. But yeah, that was getting in the youngest in the Hall of Fame to me was everything. You know what I mean? So that was, when you figure Mosconi and guys like this got in later, that to me, that's one of the that's probably my biggest. I mean, I go back to the World Tournament I won in 1979, the World Straight Pool. That, in my opinion, then was the greatest thing. So that and being in the Hall of Fame at the same time of the youngest at 35 were probably my two biggest. Don't forget at the Hall of Fame when I used to sit there, I was sitting there with Mosconi, well, Fats, yeah, he was like not a player, more of a showman, but Crane, Balsas, Jimmy Karras, Lassiter. I mean, these guys were, and those were, that was like the older era. And I used to pick their brains. Me and Mosconi got to be pretty good friends. So yeah, that was very exciting for me.
So, out of all your titles and championships, which one still hits the hardest emotionally?
79 World Straight Pool. Because in those days, that was the only world championship. They don't have these 9-ball and all these different things. That's the one that's in the record book. If you go to the Guinness World Book of Records, they have the straight pool. They have the U.S. Open straight pool, which was the same event, but they'd rename it every other year. And in fact, in '92, before I retired, I only played in the U.S. Open straight pool twice. In 1976, I played in it. You had to qualify. You had to win a tournament just to play in that, which was tough. They didn't have it for the longest time. Then in '92, they had it again. And at that time, I was exempt because I was already like a world champion. They were automatically invited. And I beat Dallas West in the finals. That was the only tournament I didn't have on my resume. So right at that point, I knew I was done, after winning that one.
So, other than tournaments, I mean, how much time did you spend on the road?
Well, of course, the tournament I spent when I was playing with Larry traveling around the road, I probably spent, maybe a couple months on the road off and on. But when I competed, I was traveling 8, 9 months a year on the road for almost 20 years. Playing in, tournaments really got really big, like late 70s. It's, and then in my opinion, the 80s, I think that was the greatest era of pool. They had the Pro Billiards Tour. They used to have 12 to 16 big events a year, every year, big events. In those days. Of course, today you got to travel around the globe to play in these events.
Right.
The money got a little bigger, but the expenses also got way bigger.
Exactly. So I visited with Jim McDermott.
Yeah.
He owned the Billiard Palace in Tulsa.
Uh huh.
I don't remember exactly the stories, but he told us about you coming there and playing. And did you play Scotty Townsend some?
Play what?
Did you play Scotty Townsend some at Tulsa or?
I can't remember. I'm not sure if I played him or not. I'm not sure. Or if I did play him, he was disguised, I guess. That McDermott tournament, I only played in it one time because he would call me and I because in those days I usually got my expenses paid for and he wouldn't do it. So I wouldn't play. And the only time I did play in it, I think I won it. If I remember correctly, if it's the event that I'm thinking. But I'm not sure even what he looks like. I heard the name. I may have played him. I honestly can't remember. Or when I did, I guess he disguised himself or different names, that kind of thing.
Did you ever play? Did you ever play James Walden?
Who?
James Walden from Oklahoma City.
I don't think so. I played Matlock from Oklahoma, I believe. I think we
Yeah.
played. I might have played him once. I can't remember. You're talking 45 plus years ago. I didn't go to Oklahoma a lot. You know what I mean?
Right.
I remember running into Randy, I guess Fat Randy, his nickname,
Yeah.
right? Isn't he
Yeah,
from
that's
there?
who we're talking about. Yeah, that's who they were talking about. Was Fat
Yeah,
Randy.
but I rarely, Larry and I normally would go like from Rochester, we'd head west through Ohio, Pennsylvania, and go towards California, like on the upper part of the country, then go
Yeah.
through California south, and then head back like along the Texas, Arizona, I think Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, Tennessee, that kind of thing. So we would circle the country, but more on the perimeter. And then when we've heard guys were gambling, naturally people would call Larry. A lot of times there's action, like in New Orleans, I played, and then, during the Mardi Gras, and then during the, what was that in New York? They had the race, Saratoga. We would go there, a lot of action, that kind of thing.
Right. Right. So, did you ever get into a spot where you didn't think you were going to get out of?
What do you mean? I mean,
Maybe
win
playing
the money
somebody.
and,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
One
Like winning the
time,
money and then not want to let you out.
no, one time I got robbed. I was with Bob Osborne, believe it or not. First time we went on the road, I can't remember, we were in, I think, Beckley, West Virginia. I even know the guys that got us robbed, and we still stayed there. They got us for like, we were 4 or 5 thousand winner. They got us for like 1,500 at a bar. The guy like came out from nowhere and give me your money. And I knew the guy that had us robbed. And the next day we still went in the bar and gambled. That's how much we
Yeah.
were getting them for. But that's the
That's
only time anything like that ever happened. Don't forget, when I went on the road, I would tell guys, in those days, like in the Carolinas, who wants to play $20 nine ball. So they right away knew I played a little. They just didn't know how good. You see what I mean? I never went in, played really bad, and then opened up for large money. That's in the movies. No one ever does that. They may not play there. It's like Tiger Woods going out playing golf, and instead of shooting 5 under every round on a regular golf course, he might shoot par. You follow what I'm saying?
right.
So he's not going to
Yeah.
shoot bogey golf and then all of a sudden bet 10,000 a hole and shoot 9 under. What I mean? That's more movies than anything else. That really does not exist. They when I went on the road, people knew I played good. They just didn't realize how good. That's kind of what I did. So I'd come in with a cue. They knew I played usually.
Mhm.
So
Did you ever play at Johnson City?
yeah. Well, I didn't play. I was there the year it got raided. I went with Larry. I think that was, let's see, I must have been 17, 18, 19. I didn't play in the tournament, but Larry and I were there. And when they would announce the players, he'd go like this guy, like Norman Hitchcock. There was a guy I remember. So they'd announce him. And Larry would have a pad with me, write down where he lived and how he played. And then after we did all that, about 2 days before they got raided, we left. We didn't play in the tournament. They didn't know who we were. But then we went to everybody's hometown like weeks later and gambled with them because we were like watching what was going on, who gambled, how they played, how I could play, that kind of thing. So we were more
Yeah.
spying at that. But I did leave 2 days before it got raided. That was the last year, maybe late 60s, early 70s, I believe, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think Norman Hitchcock's place was Chester's in Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
That was
and
his.
that we went there. Let's see, there was I did, I stayed away from like the top guys, you know what I mean? But all the other guys that played in the tournament, we would get a line on who they are, where they. Then we'd see them gambling at night, a lot of them, and get an idea of what they play for. Have so when you went on the road, there was other guys on the road, and you would intersect. I've told this before. Like you'd run into like Billy Johnson or that's how I met Bob Osborne, right? So they'd be going east, we're going west, and we run into each other at some, gambling tournament like Joe Burns, whatever. And they talk over, hey, if you're going west, make sure you go to, whatever and play this guy. And he likes to play 100 a game. You probably beat him out of 2,500, that kind of thing, right? So we, talk about information. Those were the good old days. Yeah, no
Yeah.
social media.
That's why I say it sucks that you can't do that anymore because news gets to wherever you're going before you do, and it kills any action.
Yeah, but really, I realized very quickly that was not for me. When I was like 22, 3, 4, I wanted to play in tournaments. I set myself up. I dressed good and all that. And me and Jim Rempe started the endorsement era. In my day, there was no endorsement. We had to
Right.
find them, put it in their ear, go to a company. Hey, did you ever consider having a player representing your company? They had no idea what we were talking about. So in the beginning, like the Brunswick deal, when I got that deal, I schmoozed Jim Bakula, who I love, that ran Brunswick, the head of Brunswick then, 2 years. And, I took him out to a nice dinner. I was dressed good, all that. And I said, I'd love to represent their company. At that time, that's, in my opinion, still the best table. But anyway, uh, yeah. So we would hunt the endorsements out, not like some guy would come up to me, hey, you want to represent us, and we're going to give you X. In fact, the guy that came, the guy Jones that owned Q-Tech, he originally
Hmm.
came up to me at a trade show in Vegas. He'd offer me $100,000 to play with his Q. I thought he was an idiot when he came up. He's a little guy like this big, right? So
Okay.
I was getting ready to this is like in the late 80s, I was getting ready to retire anyway, but then they took Earl as the second choice. Earl got I think he was getting like 100 grand a year. I mean, that's pretty serious endorsement, you know.
Yeah,
But
especially back then.
it'd be good today. I mean, I don't know what he gave Earl. I know he got a good deal, but he offered me 100,000 a year, and I just turned it down. I guess I shouldn't have
So
done, but
no, it's big. Especially, I mean, they're how much bigger now than they were back then.
yeah,
So you've achieved everything that a pool player could dream of, but now you've created something new.
yes.
Um, so you stepped into a new chapter of launching your own pool league.
Mhm.
What sparked this idea?
Well, I thought about this almost 20 years ago, so it's just something that I wanted, something more of a legacy than just playing and I'm trying to give, it's really sick because the leagues, some of them they're out there to make their money, which I understand that it's a business, but I'm trying to do something because I'm an ex-player and I'm trying to do something to give back to the world and make the thing the biggest ever. I mean, we give away more money in our money income than anybody else, not even close, how much money we're going to give away compared to how much we bring in. And there's plenty of money out there for all the leagues. I'm glad now to see you got this other league now. They're starting to give away money. I mean, we gave away 100,000 first 6 years ago. Now this other league, they gave away 100,000. We're going to give away more. Uh, and the thing is, there's a lot of money out there now. All of a sudden, because I feel because of me, that I've been working on this, like I said, for 20 years, and now it's become a reality. It happened before, but then COVID shut us down. But now we're restarting it. More for my kids and my, something I want to give back than and boredom. I'm financially okay. I don't have to do anything, but at this point, Brunswick, this is what happened. Brunswick started with a guy making a pool table in a garage in 1845. When I joined Brunswick, I had no idea how big they are. At that time in the 80s, mid 80s, they were doing 8 billion a year. They're in defense contracts, pharmaceuticals. They own Sea Ray boat, Bayliner, Quantum rod and reel. They became, and the billiard division is a little teeny weeny piece. Now they're getting into pool again. But, they only kept the billiard division on because it started Brunswick. That's where I see this league going 20, 30, 40 years from now. I'll be gone. And I'm hoping it gets like that. And I'm hoping to throw so much money out there that the players, we're going to also do stuff with the pros once the money starts coming in, to enhance our league. But I'm trying to do something where the players and the amateurs and pros finally make some real money. That's what this is all about. So
what do you want players in the industry to say about this league 10 years from now? I mean,
well, our league, honestly, we're being watched. So I can't really give out too much more information. Other people are kind of seeing what we're doing. And that's a great compliment, by the way. But anyway, what's happening is, I have the best system that's fair for all the players. It doesn't matter how you play. It's almost a crapshoot, like poker. You look good if you get good hands. You don't look good if you get bad hands. A lot of luck involved. So I'm trying to create something that's fair for all the players and pay out huge prize money with a system that cannot be manipulated, which is what you got to have to pay out this kind of prize money. You don't want people playing for like $1 million to $10 million first prize and another team accusing another team of something that's not the level the guy should be playing. This kind of thing. That was the first thing I did. That cannot be done. But anyway, like I said, we made a system that, your game will improve because with the ball in hands, people now start looking at the future. So a weaker player, instead of making one ball, then looking around, they can plan on making more than one ball in a row. Therefore, they're looking ahead in the game. We saw like twos and APA improve to fours and fives because you're opening up something they never even looked at, because they can only make one or two balls at a time. Now they can make 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're planning. That's how you improve. So anyway, I hope that this thing really, again, I'll be gone. Hopefully not. I think in less than 5 years, we'll be doing something that no one on the planet could ever dream of. I see a $50 million purse with first place $10 million, second 5. I'm talking that kind of money. And that's only a matter of time before that happens. I'm hoping in less than 7 years, but it could be 5 that you're going to see. We have some big surprises coming up that I am not going to discuss at this point. But during our first session, we are going to announce something that's going to blow your mind. So again, we're being watched. So, all I know is if you like winning money in this economy, we're the league to go to. Plus, we give out money every 15 weeks. We pay a minimum of 25,000 first, up to 50,000, and then some. Plus our grand finale. So we have 4 of those. You got a chance to win good prize money every 15 weeks. What's wrong with that? And it's going to keep growing.
So how can the average pool player or fan get involved or support what you're building?
Well, they have to go to our website. We have a lot of people sign up on our website, the ablplayers.com. The problem is we only have 93 locations in the whole United States, and some of them are saturated in certain areas. So the odds of you playing in our event at this point right now, we got 3 weeks to go, 4 weeks to go. We start January 5th. Is unlikely. I would suggest going because we can't contact everybody and we have not tried to contact everybody. We're looking at key areas I would go to your local room or you know, the manager or the owner and ask if they would like to be one of our venues, one of our locations, and we can sign them up. You know, but you know, we've done a lot of advertising. We're happy with where we're at. We didn't try and overdo it. You know, we have this app that we're starting that takes care of all the information, the handicaps, everything else. All you got to do is keep score of the games and how many ball and hands a rack you get. That's it.
Mhm.
So everything else is self-explanatory. But again, you know, we're pretty happy with where we're at. We didn't try and get too big too fast. I want to start kind of small. You know, if there's any, you know, to be honest with you, this app, the guy assures us nothing will go wrong, but I'm pretty sure something will go wrong. It always does. So I didn't want to get too crazy, you know.
So I will leave. I'll get the link from him, and I'll leave it in the description below, so y'all can click on that link and y'all can check it out. But Color of Money. What you had? I know you had some hand in that movie.
And
Um,
what?
in Color of Money.
Oh, yes. I had the whole hand. Yeah, of course.
How did that come about?
Well, it's ironic that I've told this story on Facebook, but what happened was when I was in I'd already done Baltimore Bullet. You know, that was a funny movie. I played myself. A lot of the pool players were in that. It was a funny, you know, good movie, but that was like in the came out in 79, the Baltimore Bullet. I mean, if you ever it was not bad, you know, but Color of Money was like an Academy Award winning type movie. And
Right.
what happened was I was in Norfolk, Virginia, playing in the U.S. Open. Okay, and Marty Scorsese and Tom Cruise were in the audience. Tom Cruise was not really that well known then. He had done Risky Business. That was it. Good looking, but you know, he was not like he is today. Okay. And this other lady, Barbara DeFina, who was Marty Scorsese's wife, and they were what's his name? Jay Helper was touting Keith McCready to be this Grady Seasons character, which he was perfect for that part. I read for that part, but they wanted Keith because the way he was, again, he was perfect for that part. But I was playing Keith at the U.S. Open, so anyway, you know, I beat him pretty easy, and you know, they were talking, and Marty asked somebody goes, well, who's that other guy? That Sigel guy goes, well, that's Mike Sigel, all that. So anyway, after that match was over, I saw what was going on. That they were all huddling around this woman. I got the buzz that there was some movie people there. All this, I had no idea what was going on. So I fought my way back there to that lady, and I thought as I was going there, technical advisor. I don't know why that entered my mind. But I asked him, I go, do you have a technical advisor? She goes, we don't. So I gave her my card, all that, you know, about a month later, 2 months later, I hear from him. This was like in September. And I went, they wanted me to come up to New York. I lived in Maryland then to show Tom Cruise some shots. I went, okay. So I go to this building, I open the door, and there's a pool table right there and scenes set up. And Paul Newman's shooting pool. You know, Paul Newman, he's like, you know, biggest star on the planet. He
Mhm.
comes up to me. I had won the world tournament in November, November, in between the US Open and when I saw them. So Newman goes, hey, Mike, congratulations. And we start talking. He goes, here, put your cue together. Let's play a little. Right. I go, okay. So I start playing. And he's asking me questions. Paul Newman's very knowledgeable about pool. He just doesn't perform as well.
Right.
Anyway, he keeps smiling. And then eventually he asked me about he goes, I'm having trouble with my breaking 9 ball. Can you help me out? I rack him up. He breaks. I go, let me see that again. I rack him again. He breaks. This time I give him 2 pointers. He breaks and makes a 9 on the break. First time in his life he ever did it. And he yells out, Marty, put him on the payroll. And Marty Scorsese and the cinematographer and Richard Price, the writer, were behind a curtain way in the back of the room. I'm being auditioned. I just didn't realize. And that's how I got the job. Can you?
Yeah. Heck yeah. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's a funny
All right, so
story.
before,
It's ironic that I get the Color of Money because what happened was real quick. The Richard Price, me and Larry saw this guy all the time. He had polio and his left arm, I believe, was always kind of like this. And we'd see him at tournaments in the crowd. And I'm going, who is that guy? You know, he's not a player, obviously, and he's not a backer. You know, usually you'd see guys going around him, right, huddling. It turns out that when I talked to him, you know, when I got auditioned, he told me that 80% of his material came from watching me and Larry Hubbard gamble and play in the tournaments. So that's where he got a lot of his material from for the Color of Money. And ironically, I get the job as technical advisor.
that's
Strange.
great. So, 2 more questions, and I'll let you go.
All right.
When they do a movie about your life, who do you want to play as you?
What's his name? Adam Sandler.
Oh my gosh!
Or is that the one? Wait, that's Happy Gilmore, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Him. There you go. He'd be a perfect
Great.
guy for me.
So when it's all said and done, what do you want people to remember about Mike Sigel, the man, not just the pool player?
Well, I mean, I got to admit that when I played, I was not I was playing. It's like Ben Hogan. If you ever watch his story, today they're all laughing, the golfers, making hundreds of millions a week, of course. When Ben Hogan played golf, he was playing for his rent money, just like we did. So, I wasn't funny when things happened in the match. That the reason I lost with luck, I did not take it lightly. Okay, I get all that. But, people thought I was, I've changed. I guess I've mellowed over the years. So I'm kind of different than I was in those days. You got to remember, I'm playing for my family. You know what I mean? We didn't make money. I mean, that's why I retired at 93. In 93, I mean, I was 39 when I retired because I saw the light. You couldn't survive as even being one of the best players in the world in those days. You couldn't do it. That's why, just like what's the golfer Bobby Jones? He was an attorney, one of the greatest golfers ever lived. In those days, he quit golf, probably the greatest amateur player, maybe could have been who knows what, and he became a lawyer instead. So in those respects, so I may not have been the easiest guy in the world, but today I've mellowed out. So again, now I'm trying to give back. So I'm trying to make up for that with this league. And, we're hoping this thing gets bigger than life down the road. So that's the way I would like to be remembered. By the way, I'm setting this up now. So, I'm pretty talkative, right? So on my grave, I'm going to have 3 buttons on my gravestone. So you're going to hit that button. You're going to say, just because I'm dead, you did not get rid of me. I'll have three different ones you can click because I'm going to start making those now. Trust me.
Heck yeah. Well, Mike, this has been incredible. This has been incredible. I mean, thanks for sharing your story and your history and your vision for the future of pool. If you would send me that link, text me that link, and then I'll put it in the description so people can click on it and then follow your new league. And guys, if y'all enjoy stuff like this, man, subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost anything. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know how I'm doing, and I'll see y'all next time on the Pulling Around Show.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Take care of yourself.
How do I do the link thing? You would need Trevor for that?
Just text it to him. Well, I guess if you know what the link is. So what's the website?
Well, no, it's just ablplayers.com.
Okay,
ABL. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so they can go to that. Hey, I appreciate it.
Thanks for taking your time. I appreciate it.
So this was live, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is on YouTube and Facebook now. So.
Okay, so that is, and also see the recording, right?
Yep. They recorded it.
Yeah.
So it's
all right. I appreciate it. We're hoping, we're hoping that this thing, I'm telling you right now, that the potential of what I'm doing, seriously, could revolute, because once we start making money, I'm going to bring the pros in, pay them 25, 50, 100,000 just to appear, to enhance our league, do streaming, the whole 9 yards. We'll have an annual event with big money, no entry fee, just come and play, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I see all this happening. It's just going to take time. I'm working on a way to make it much shorter, which I think I'm be able to do that. But if not, it's going to take 2 or 3 years. We know that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like anything.
So I know that Sean McReynolds had said, when I talked to you last, he said something about you coming to Oklahoma, or is that still on the table?
No, because I mean, he meant well, but I'm not sure that we could do that. I mean, I appreciate this, but things didn't work out. I guess I don't really know Sean. He's called me a handful of times, but we have 2 or 3 locations in Oklahoma through another avenue. But anyway, yeah, that just never materialized.